Today's lesson we're going to look at the GST. Now, you've been paying this GST since you were born, or maybe not since you were born, your parents definitely were. And what it is, it's a tax on pretty much everything we buy and sell. There's a few exceptions. But yeah, it's called a goods and services tax. So goods might be like, a can of tuna, or like your calculator, anything like that. And services are like things like cleaning. If you've got a cleaner that cleans your house, I don't. But any kind of service, somebody who does your gardening or something like that, they're providing a service, and everything has a tax, and the tax is 10%. Okay, it came in many, many years ago, and it hasn't changed from 10%. It's a big, big political thing, and it keeps getting talked about. So today we're going to apply the knowledge of percentages to GST and interpret and evaluate GST in problems. Okay. So let's go to the questions. Calculate the GST payable on goods priced at $120 haircut. So that's a service. So remember, the GST is how much? 10%. All right. So for a $120 haircut, we want to find the GST. We've got to go 10% of 120. So we go 10 over 100. Of means times $120, and the answer we'll get is $12. Okay. Let's look at a car service. All right, so yeah, car service is a bit of like a service, but also there might be a bit of products, like they might put a new filter in. So it's a bit of both. So let's work that out. So it's still the GST, it's still the same thing, it's still 10%. So we go 10% of $230, and so you go 10 over 100 times 230. I should put equals here as well. And the answer is $23. Okay. Now, obviously, you probably see a pattern here. 120, and then we get 120, and the 10% is $12. That's because it's 10% of it. We move the decimal point 1 across to find 10%, and we get it there. If you know how to do that, we'll do it with that as well. Then do it that way. But if you don't get it and you can follow the process that we've been doing for a couple of lessons now, then that's the way we're going to do it. Okay, let's look at the last one. 10%, it equals 10% of $388, so that equals 10 over 100. Of means times $388. I'm going to move the decimal point 1, and I get $38.80. All right, because we're talking about money, so we need to include that 0 because it's not 8, it's 80 cents. Okay. All right, let's keep going. This question is slightly different. It says calculate the final price. So in the last question, we were just finding the GST, okay? Now we're not only just finding the GST in this question, we're actually finding what we're going to totally pay, okay? So let's do it. We want to find 10% of $80 because we want to make up for the formal. And we go 10 over 100, of means times 80, and we get $8. So this is the GST. GST. So this is the tax that we're paying. Okay? But the total final price is what? Is the $80 plus the tax, which is $8. So the final price is $88. Okay? All right, let's do it for the next one. So we want to find 10% of $70. Okay? And the answer will go 10 over 100 times 70. And the answer to that is $7. Therefore, final price is equal to 70 plus 7, which equals $77. So that's how much the lawn service would cost. All right, and I know that a lot of you are looking for this, especially if you're a Harry Potter fan. If you want to buy a wizard wand, they're not cheap, so they're pretty expensive. So we'll find 10% of $413. I looked them up at Amazon. I'm joking. 10 over 100 times 413. And the answer of that would be $41.30. Okay. Therefore, final price is going to be 413 plus 41.30, and you get $454. My calculator says and 30 cents. All right, so that's the end of that. So if we want a total price, we need to make sure that we add the GST onto the cost price. All right, let's do, and this is our last example, and this is probably the hardest part, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so it says the final price of Gold Class movie for two, including GST, the 10% GST was $37.50. What was the pre-GST price? So what was the price of the movie before we go to the tax man? So what we go is that the movie is the total price plus GST. Okay, and the total of something is 100%. Okay, and GST we said is 10%. Okay, so therefore it means that because 100 plus 10 is 110. 110%. 10% is $37.50. Okay. Now from that we can actually find out what the movie is. If I divide this side by 110, I'm going to get 1%. So I'll get 1% here. Okay, which means I need to divide this side by 110, and I'll get 1%. So 1% is, I'm going to use my calculator to get this, 37.50 divided by 110, and I get this really small number. I'm going to put it as a fraction just to make it more. I'll press the SD button, but if you get a decimal that looks like 0.3409 and then it keeps going, that's correct. Okay. Now I'm not interested in what 1% is. I'm interested in what it was at the start. So they're 100%. So now I'm going to multiply by 100, which means I need to multiply this by 100. Okay. So now I'll get 100% is, and what I'm going to do is put this in the calculator. Okay. So I'm going to go that times 100 to get 100%. And I get 34. Now remember it's money because it keeps going on forever ever. But I can round it to that, and I'm going to explain it to 2 decimal places. All right. So therefore, I'm going to just write the statement again, and I'm going to write it in red. Therefore, pre-GST price was $34.09, which is a pretty odd price, but I guess that's what it was. All right, hopefully this makes sense. Peace out.